what you might consider interdimensional might be visual plasma coming back in and out of frequency range.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if it all comes back down to how do your eyes and your brain interpret the physical reality around you? Because we only see what
Mm-hmm.
less than 3% of everything around us. So what about that other 97% that's a possibility that exists, but we're just not tuned into the right frequency for it?
We have this, I guess, what somebody called myth, whatever they may have wanted to call it. Um, it's funny. Yeah, right. They perceived it because they perceived it. Like we're seeing it scientifically, but they perceived it without that science, and they perceived it clearly. And what they perceived is helping the science today actually understand it. It gives them a foundation to understand what they're seeing. Like if it wasn't for the ancient text, the science of today wouldn't understand what they were seeing.
Hey, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me right here today. Craig Simpson from Radiant Creators. We had a couple go-arounds before. Planets in the heavens swirling, Pluto returning. Does that mean an end to our nation? We got the wars kicking off. Energetic changes everywhere you're looking. And it also, with me looking at magnetic field changes across our entire solar system, seems that there's just an angrier populace out there. And is that because of electromagnetism and those changes that were forecast on this cycle to culminate in 2024? Anyway, we're going to try to scrunch all that together. And I know we're probably going to go off in a few different directions.
Well, as I was talking to Unradiant Creators interviewed Joseph Farrell the other week, and quite the prolific writer. I think he's got like 40 plus books. He's quite an interesting character. And we were talking about that feeling that many of us had since we were kids that something was coming, or maybe it came later, or maybe it's intensified, one way or the other. Many of us, most people listening, if not all listening, I'd imagine, have felt something is coming. Whether it's all your life or the last decade, your last 5 years, you've felt it. Well, it's here. It's happened. We're in it. And it's one of the things we really have to I think, getting my mind around is that time, that event that I felt like was coming, it's here. I think we're actually in it, and we're all in a bit of shock right now, you know, um, because yeah, we are in WW3. It's here. It's cold in a way, depending on where you are in the world. Some places it's hot, some places it's cold, but yeah, things could change very quickly. And can they put that genie back in the bottle? Well, I would say that I always look at things as somewhat, paradoxical and not really in conflict. They may seem like two things couldn't be true at the same time and not cancel each other, but they kind of are. And so, I think we've got the grand solar minimum, food declining and weather getting strange, like here in the Sonoran Desert. Um, been here for a while, and the saguaros, these big, beautiful, couple 100-year-old cactuses. In the last like 6 months, I've noticed a remarkable amount of them start to die, which is unusual. They're dying off, and that's, I mean, just damn near turned to ash out there in the field, which is crazy. They're really resilient. I've never seen luscious green saguaros just turn to charcoal almost and
That's
start
UV
falling.
radiation change.
Yeah, because they are tough. They can take it, but it's killing them. And usually a saguaro, if you're familiar with them, takes them like 300 years to die. They just look pathetic forever. These things are like over in under a year, and that's crazy. So
Wow.
we have that. I also think we've got the Great Reset, which is one thing. There's so many like paradoxical things crossing that are giving me that same bad feeling in the gut.
Our national debt is a real world problem. Our government spends more in interest payments than it does funding the Pentagon. Biden wants to raise taxes on businesses and the wealthy. We've gone from $6 trillion in debt to $34 trillion in 20 years. There's a direct correlation to the national debt and the price of gold. In 2010, our debt, $13 trillion, gold 1,000 an ounce. 2020, the debt was $23 trillion and gold was $1,500 an ounce. 2023, 33 trillion US debt, and now 2,000 an ounce for gold. Call the proud Americans the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention the Adapt 2030 channel. You're going to get some great in-class service. Also, Patriot Gold Group has a no fee for life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And also now for the 7th year in a row, Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs top rated IRA gold dealer. 888-546-7020. And now on with the video.
Of, there's a lot of people who, here's a big one. Elon Musk, doesn't matter if a person likes him or not. A lot of people hear him. A lot of people, think what he says has value. He was talking to Joe Rogan the other day, and he talked about Mr. Soros, old man evil. And he said that he legitimately thinks the guy is working to destroy society all around the world because he hates humanity. And well, that's true. But I don't know. When I heard that, from a person that people listen to, like Joe Rogan show is a big deal. What Elon says is a big deal. And so right now, like, I feel like the battle between like the good angels and the demons, it's on the surface of the planet right now. It's on when I heard that. I went, you got billionaires nailing their colors to the mast and saying, yes, there's evil.
Jolly Roger flying.
Yeah, so I wonder if you, I guess we're all going to have to nail our colors to the mast. I guess we kind of have.
Yeah, because with these electromagnetic changes coming, I was trying to explain the perception change of humanity.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And what I was thinking is they're going to pierce the veil. And one thought that had flown across my eyeballs a couple times was we're actually going to see the darkness around the auras of the humans on the planet, or the light colors. Like, that'll be a visible thing through this electromagnetic frequency change that we're about to encounter really heavily coming up in October of 2024. So imagine, if you will, for a moment, where you can pretend to be Mr. Nice or Mrs. Nice, but your aura will be visible for everybody to see. And jet black dark auras that are visible for everybody will really pierce through the veil. If you have any color or luminescence other than just jet black, you'll be considered human or humanity. But if you have just jet black auras, it'll be that I think visually and auditorially, like how we hear and perceive things, because I notice a lot of people are telling me they're seeing glints of things out of the corners of their eyes that they can't explain anymore. Like it's flashes of colors or dark or shadow or something. It doesn't always have to be a shadow. But I get people telling me that because I try to explain how our eyes are going to perceive reality different. Because you have to realize that the lobes of our brains are magnetic. And as the big yellow thing to the left changes, it also affects the magnetic field on our planet. And that, in turn, with you on it, the way your brain is perceiving reality is going to change or tweak slightly because the magnetic field around your lobes of your brain is also being affected. So we talk about superhuman or psychic abilities. Those are persons' brains that are operating on a different level and maybe have more interconnections or are tapping into the electromagnetic field in a different way, fashion, or form than we are. But as that field changes and that vibration ticks up, perhaps everybody gets turned on. And that's the whole thing, is when we come through these giant cycles here, the Great Awakening accompanies every one of these. And I was trying to boil it down is, what is it that awakens humanity? And it's not really an awakening where they start to feel into, oh, I feel that person's feeling, I'm so empathetic. It's going to be something visual. And the perception of reality is going to be that visual thing. And perhaps what they see, smell, taste, and touch will change too. But once you start seeing jet black auras of leaders, of politicians, and those in the finance industry, and then somebody standing right next to him is vibrating with the blue, green, or whatever, and you see that, and you're like, whoa, that entity is very, very different. And there'll be bare for everybody to see, and that veil will be pierced. And I really believe we're coming into something like that. I keep trying to explain it, but I just don't have enough words or like examples to
Hmm.
explain all these things. That stories keep coming across of things popping in and out of visual like range. They're there for a second and then the shimmer's gone. It's starting. It's really starting right now, because you're almost glimpsing through the other side for a moment and then it pops back in again. So we're heading toward that, and I can't wait till everybody on the planet can see it.
Oh yeah. No, I think yeah, it's very apparent, and I'm feeling it. I think most people are feeling it, and yeah, does everybody get switched on? Well, that's a tough one because can everybody be switched on? That's it, it's kind of an individual thing, but I think most people listening are switched on and are going to get greater and greater to a greater and greater extent turned up, and that turning up that supercharging. Um, Definitely everybody, stay sane. You're not crazy. Or actually, no, you are crazy, but you're kind of a good crazy. And it just gets better because I don't know about other people, but for me, you can feel new emotions coming in, new emotional ranges that you haven't experienced before, and intuition ability, manifestation, also just feeling. I kind of wish we weren't porous in a way, but you feel with that heart center out. You feel, your ability to feel the area that you're in is much greater. Meditation changes if one is meditating on their presence. It's different now. So, I'm sure you're feeling all these things too. I mean, it's happening, and we have to get used to having a new kind of perception experience of being. And so at least if a person is consciously seeing it and doing it and walking through it, that's definitely, very, very helpful, because I think a lot of people, many people are just freaking out. If they can feel it at all, it's tough. I'm not
That's why they're
sure that,
freaking out, because they can't interpret what their
yes,
change is in their default setting.
they can't. Yeah. And, can they really roll with it? I don't know. We'll see. I think it's causing some people to get very crazy. Well, it's like plasma science. Now, what was it? I have a book on it here. It's not handy, but there's some books out now on plasma science, and Joseph Barrell just wrote one. There's one called like A New Story of Heaven or something like that. Uh, and now scientists like plasma science is starting to, and this is that great awakening that happens at this time. Like Sasha Dobler wrote about in his books. There's a great awakening that happens during the Grand Solar Minimum. Um, Plasma now, here's the thing: the idea is that within plasma science, space being conscious, that angels and demons exist as these plasma beings that are huge. And I'm not really articulating it very well, but basically the idea is that we are surrounded by the living energy of what we would consider angels and demons that are life forms of their own, and they're plasmatic, they're plasma, you know. And so when the Incas were doing sacrifice, cutting out hearts and holding them in the air, life is in the blood, they actually were feeding a plasma demon. Because really, why would you make that big temple? Why would you go to that much trouble? Why would you do all of that if you didn't get anything out of it? You know, Eventually the people would be like, nah, you're just killing people. It doesn't rain. Nothing good happens after you do this. Something had to come of it. And so ultimately, you have the Incas out there cutting out the hearts, and that energy, as they're doing that, is literally they're feeding a demon that actually isn't. We can interpret them biblically, and the church fathers wrote about them even beforehand. They have been interpreted biblically, but what was biblically interpreted, and in different cultures in different ways in history, we're now realizing no, these are actually living beings. That's plasma. Just like plasma ball lightning, there are plasma demons and angels. So,
Think about the
you know,
vibratory frequency during that time as well, perhaps during the wolf minimum. And maybe
hmm
something that they're seeing now is really in outside of our visual perception until this
yes,
electromagnetic field change comes back in, and perhaps boom, it'll be right in front of you again. You'll be like, whoa, I saw what they were talking about. Maybe this
yeah,
cycle comes back in and out because you do see this ebb and flow of that same type of cycle, worshiping or doing something for these interdimensional entities, or what you might consider interdimensional might be visual plasma coming back in and out of frequency range.
hmm
So again, if it all comes back down to how do your eyes and your brain interpret the physical reality around you, because we only see what
hmm
less than 3% of everything around us. So what about that other 97% that's a possibility that exists, but we're just not tuned into the right frequency for it. So I never try to discount the ancients because they were living in the different oxygen levels on the planet and a different frequency field and a different electromagnetic state of being also. So you got to wrap all those three together. And then also the lack of electromagnetic interference. The diet was different. It was much cleaner. Water was purer. You got to go back in time and start to think about when it was not chemically souped everywhere or electromagnetically souped. Your
mm.
perception and touching of reality into the different either the matrices or matrix would be something to behold back then. It would be very different. So I am down with believing what they saw is what they really saw and experienced and dealt and interplayed with.
Yeah. And now, what was, you might say, you know, scripture, what was, writing, we have this, I guess, what somebody called myth, whatever they may have wanted to call it. Um, it's funny. Yeah, right. They perceived it because they perceived it. Like we're seeing it scientifically, but they perceived it without that science, and they perceived it clearly. And what they perceived is helping the science today actually understand it. It gives them a foundation to understand what they're seeing. Like if it wasn't for the ancient text, the science of today wouldn't understand what they were seeing.
A lot of us look and think about very clearly that the planet seems to be going insane, that mental illness is just like off the Richter screaming northward, like so many dysfunctional humans across the planet at the moment. You're seeing that electromagnetic frequency change. That explains what you consider mental illness
Mm-hmm.
increasing across the planet is people not being able to understand the frequency that they're in has changed and their baseline reality has morphed and they're still stuck. It moved and they're trying to figure out how this is moved away from them and they're just trying to even figure out waking reality. So when you see
Yes.
this combination of all this insanity and really insanity and just like actions of people, and we could make a list of 50 things deep and everybody can see it and perceive it and understand that mental illness is sweeping this planet and just strange behavior and unusual behaviors. That is the electromagnetic frequency field changing. And when did it really start? Probably around 2019.
Mm.
That's really when the grand solar minimum was forecast, and Valentina Zarkova and quite a few others and John Casey said, that's it, boom, it's going to hit right around 2020. We're going to come into an exceptionally low, very short solar cycle, and it's going to drop off a cliff. Well, NASA
Wow.
and the European Space Agency said, this solar cycle is going to end at least 3 years early. So here we are. And what you're seeing around you, the way that things are not working any longer, because you have to think about if you have a radio station tuned into something, we're going out of phase with that radio station. So this whole reset is literally a reset of default of waking humanity and how they operate inside the new vibratory field. It's got to be changed from like 103.5 to 103.7 or 103.9. And we're in that phase change. Now, either you can roll with it, and Craig seemed like you're on top of it. I try to walk barefoot more.
It definitely is.
And
And
I'm going to leave it on that right there because I don't want to go too woo-woo and be like, what is this guy talking about?
well, I definitely see the light. That's one thing I would say that in the midst of all this insanity, this frequency change, I've only become more of an optimist because
Mm,
I just can't help it. I see the light. It's almost like you're laying in the forest, you're looking up in the trees, and you see the lights of the trees. Um, I think that all this global insanity that we're seeing right now, it's not running the show. It's like Gandalf said to Frodo. He said, it's not just the forces of evil that are working behind the scenes in this world. And I look at it like plasma angels and demons are on this world right now, and you're going to see them in people's aura. You'll know who's plugged into what. And I think that I'm just seeing light, even in the midst of so much disaster around the world. I see the light is there. I see it through everything that's happening. And all the bad stuff happening is a reaction to a world that has already changed frequency. Really. So I don't know how it's going to end, but I already see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's my daily meditation. My focus is to be there.
Yeah, and my study and others says that the intensity of this electromagnetic field change will reach its max intensity somewhere in October of next year.
Mm.
And then it'll dissipate from that point. So whenever we come through, and we're going to roll out of that, but it has something to do with the gas giants forming a near perfect square in the outer solar system. And then the Earth coming through the sun's magnetic field, the interlooping play of the four gas giants, then we'll come through that. And the last time that square was seen in this 79 AD. So we're looking at a once in a 2,000 year electromagnetic frequency change cycle, and we're coming in and out, and it could affect the tides, could affect human perception again. There's so many things that electromagnetism holds together, like our weather systems, cloud cells, jet streams, whatever. Who knows? It's an unknown. It's an electromagnetic anomaly is the best way to put it. So, look at it in terms of joy like Craig is, because I'm also looking at it as a way for us to break free of things that have been holding
Yes.
us for thousands of years. I think a lot of this interplay going on right now, politically, economically, et cetera, is to plant the fear so you miss the wave, to ride
Yes.
the wave and maintain control after whatever's done through fear. But we are on the super roller coaster, man. We are going, when you get to the top of the roller coaster, it's like, ticket,
Yeah.
ticket, 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 and you get that free fall
Woo.
hanging for a second, there down. That's where we sit right now.
That's where we are. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm tuned into it, and I might be a little bit pessimistic by nature. So if I'm positive, no one has any excuse. It's good. It's good. Good things are happening.
All
Good
right.
things are
Hey, that's the
happening.
name of this. So that'll be the name of it. The good things are
Good
happening,
things are happening.
because they are. And again, it's mind frame, how you choose the reality to be. So anyway, Craig, I thank you for coming on tonight and chatting for a bit.
Oh, thank
Giving some
you.
positivity and hope in this darkness that we see, because everybody's just so focused on the dark soup. I'm happy that we're over in a bowl of swirling plasma soup with extra colors
Yes.
jumping out like Lucky Charms getting off on the plate there.
Mm. And now we can do it. The time is now we can do it. I'm hanging out my bowl of plasma Lucky Charms. So
All
all right, thanks a lot.
right, bye for now.
Bye bye.